G'day guys, and today Shorty and I are going to discuss the game between Geelong and Adelaide at Adelaide Oval, and the Crows got off to a big start. A few mistakes early from the Cats really got the Crows on top and well in command. They really took us to the cleaners, could have won by a bit more. They got home by 21 points. It was a hard game to watch as a Cats fan, and we knew coming in it was going to be a big game and a big test, but the Crows answered the challenge. We weren't up to it, couldn't quite deal with the pressure, as we discussed throughout the night, mate. Watching on with Jess as well. How did you see the game? It was tough watching and revealed many cracks in our game currently.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you use the word reveal, but it probably just underlined them, I guess. You know, we know they're there, and it just sort of underlined them or highlighted them, however you want to say it. I think we know we sometimes can be a bit fragile around the ball. That has improved in recent times, but we were hammered around the contest. I think three-quarter time we're down the clearances by about 20, which everyone has been talking about. But you know, I just felt that we struggled to handle the heat that Adelaide brought, and often people seem to just talk about, they brought the heat and intensity and their pressure was great. And it's almost like the other team, you just presume they don't handle it. But you do sometimes have teams that bring the heat, the other side absorbs it and they respond. And we weren't able to absorb it well enough or respond quick enough. So, and I suppose, what does that look like? I mean, we fumble, we don't find avenues to goal well enough when defensive pressure is applied, whether that's actually by a player or just a team field setup. So, you know, particularly early, we had some critical errors which cost us. Too many blokes who struggle with the one touch, and that seems just like a real, you know, does that really matter sort of stat. But a lot of guys who do, when there's a fair bit of pressure on, don't take clean possession or don't execute the handball on a dime. And that's what it takes when the pressure's really on. So I think that was a bit concerning, and the reason why we've struggled in finals, because there's a lot of guys who A, struggle with that, and B, don't step up to the plate when the moment arrives. So that was a bit concerning, but Adelaide were really good, and we would have expected them to be. We've got a good record against them coming into the game. Normally we can set up quite well against them and nullify their forwards, but I think it wasn't necessarily their forwards that did the damage. It was around the ball. So I think the Crouch boys and obviously Sloan, who was touch and go to play, and all of a sudden not only did he play, but he dominated. So he was best on ground.
Yeah.
You know, mate, it's a game in Adelaide. It's always going to be tough. They have produced some pretty poor performances, the Crows, at times throughout the year, but we couldn't bring about that result to them. It's a tough one to read, isn't it? I mean, obviously it's disappointing. It underlined some key cracks. We did fight back, and we were always going to. I think you could probably mount the case. We even gave ourselves a genuine sniff towards the end there. I think it was always going to be unlikely, but certainly there would have been some Crows fans who were a little bit nervous. We couldn't quite penetrate in the probably last 7-8 minutes, but certainly got close enough. But you can't be leaving yourself that big a gap to try and haul in, which is a bit of a trademark of ours at times. But I just wonder, you know, whether there's enough guys in that team who stand up when you really need it. You know, Stanley really let us down. Motlop really let us down. There's a few guys that I'll talk about more in the chopping block / player review section, mate. But as far as the game went, it's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, you really do expect, well, you don't expect, you hope that we come out and play really good footy and match it. Is it an unexpected result? Probably not, but I guess from the finals point of view, it is a bit concerning because good teams can win anywhere. We've shown an ability to do it at times, but just not consistently enough. And I think when you look at games over the course of the season, when we've really struggled is when teams clamp down on us, apply real heat around the contest, and we don't have enough steady heads or steady hands in there to get out of the contest and execute well enough. So I think it genuinely stems from there. And also the Sloan factor. Did we apply a hard tag? Did Scotty Selwood not just do it well enough? Could have we gone with a harder tag? I don't know, but that was a matchup that obviously got out of our control. But yeah, disappointing, mate. It was frustrating to watch on, but I think we probably didn't learn much. We were just reminded about some doubts that we had. So disappointing. But what were your thoughts on the game, mate?
Yeah, look, it was reasonably disappointing. I think in the way and the manner it happened wasn't great. I mean, not many teams are going to go over to Adelaide Oval and win. That's fair. But really, it all started with those three simple errors that probably Adelaide's pressure may have caused. Was it Blitzarves, Lonergan, and was Taylor the other one early on where they just did the wrong thing at the wrong time? I think it was Stewart, actually, now I think about it, not Taylor. They all just didn't make the right decision at the right time, bit off a bit too much. There was times where Stanley in particular, and other players also, where they had the ball, spent it before they had it, or not only did they fumble the ball, but then completely misjudged the ball on the ground, and they couldn't even neutralise it even after they stuffed up, which was just so damning to see and so crazy to see. It's like we're playing with a bar of soap sometimes. Like, I understand this pressure, I understand it's very hard to sort of change the mindset of what's actually happening, but gee whiz, just at least half clean. And if you're not clean, neutralise the contest. The Crows just went in so much harder all night, and they really wanted to win. Like, when there was times throughout the game where we just didn't look like we wanted the football, or just didn't look like a side that could do anything, just up against the wall. And look, credit to us to fight back late. I'll certainly applaud not throwing in the towel. Certainly appreciate that. But look, there's plenty of guys, which I reckon we'll mention in the player review, that just need to have a big hard look at themselves in the mirror and really sort of assess where they're at and what they're contributing to the team. The clearance situation, as you mentioned off the top, minus 20, you're not going to win many games, and especially when you've got the Crows forward line that's pretty dangerous. They only kicked, I think, 4 goals, or they didn't kick many goals between their forwards. I know it was mainly midfield, but so that's a credit to our defence, but a slap in the face to our midfield and our inability to defend there. It was a very interesting game, umpired-wise. I think it was about 60 or 50 free kicks involved. I don't have the numbers on me right this minute. But well over umpired for both sides, and lots of garbage, cheap stuff, really. But yeah, credit to a few players that stood up, which we'll mention in the votes. But yeah, as you said, it's not anything too new, but more so, I guess, a little bit of an insight to where we are and what we still need to work on. And it's very hard to win on the road against a team that's on top of the ladder, that's in really good form. So, I mean, it's basically the same game that happened. We smashed Adelaide earlier in the year. At home, they kicked a few late when we were just parking the bus, as Adelaide may have been as well. So it's the same game. I don't really read too much into it. I'm more concerned about how we go on the MCG, to be fair. So, yeah, hopefully we can front up over the next few weeks and deliver some better performances. But yeah, look, overall, I was pleased at least that we fought back and made something of it. It made him slightly nervous. We had a bit of hope late and moved the ball with a bit of flair. We kicked down the corridor a bit more, took risks when it had to be made. So, again, don't know why you don't do that earlier. I'm not sure, and we discussed it last night. We weren't sure whether it's because Adelaide dropped their pressure off, or whether we're sort of, playing out of no fear, nothing to lose, so you take more risks. Not really sure, but I'd like to see us doing that right from the start. Whether the defence from the opposition allows you to, I'm not sure. But, look, not as disappointed with how we finished it off at the very least. So those are my thoughts there, mate. We'll move into the votes, and I don't know, we haven't even discussed this, but how did you see him?
Yeah, it was probably 5 players that I thought were the clear good performers on the night when there weren't a stack. I thought Busey was our best. I gave him 3 votes, and I dare say that'll be the first time I've ever given him votes.
Yeah, nice.
So look, he was great. We know he can be a good stopper. He was extremely good on any bets, but also his intercept marking, not necessarily high aerial marking, but just reading the play well, cutting off some kicks, and then taking the game on, which he's done at VFL level for a long time, and he really can dart around and has a really nice sidestep. So hopefully we can see a bit more of that as he adds to his offensive game. We had 2 votes to Paddy Dangerfield, which he's been copping a lot of flack, but look, on the night, no, he probably wasn't at his best. Yeah, he had a couple of errors, but there weren't too many guys that over the 4 quarters actually cracked in and gave serious effort. So I felt he and the next man I mentioned, Joel Selwood, were the reason we didn't get blown away. I thought they both laid a ton of tackles, were the only ones giving a yelp in the stoppage, and I felt they led by example as they always do. And I would have liked to fit Taylor in. Harry Taylor, of course, kicked 5, and Mitch Duncan, I thought, wasn't far off either, the other midfield duo. But I know it's a bit of a same old story with Dangerfield and Selwood, but I wanted to shake it up. But when I really thought about it, they just were some of our better performers. They just kept trying and kept willing themselves to the ball to hopefully get us back into the contest, and they are so reliable at that. But weren't a stack of players really putting their hands up to give them a hand, mate. But how do you see it?
Nah, spot on, pal. I've given Selwood the 3, got the 26 touches. What I liked, he was getting the tag, and also, he didn't have a great start. He had a bit of a flu, or was a bit sick throughout the week, and I liked his response. And in the 3rd quarter, really sort of stuck out for mine, where you just sensed he was going to get the first clearance. I mean, I think Adelaide sort of got it, but then Selwood eventually moved it forward, and you said you were inspired by his speech at half time and how he was looking at the players, and that was really funny. But look, credit to him to fight back and set up some good bits of play. So he gets a 3 for mine. The votes are pretty tough to choose, really. I've given 2 to Taylor, which is reasonably generous, but I think he started off reasonably okay in defence, and a nice move up forward when no one else up forward could, strike a punch. Taylor moved up forward, kicked 5 in the second half. I think he kicked 4 in a row at one point. So, look, he got a couple of nice free kicks, and that was very good positioning from him. And he kicked straight. You still got to kick him. And look, he was the only one sort of really putting his hand up forward. Menzel and Hawkins, they could get a bit of a mention in the player review, which I'm sure you'll delve into. But happy with his performance there. And Busey probably stiff to get the 1 vote, but he gets the vote for mine. 18 touches, but he was second leading possession getter at half time. He was really good on bets. I think he kept him goalless potentially as well. Love the way he went about it. He just really attacks the game when he does get the footy. Used to be a bit of a generic stopper, but he's really sort of moved into a bit of a more attacking defender type role, and also stopping his man from scoring and being a danger. And he really has Bet's measure at the moment. And he was just really good down back, probably our best defender by a mile, I thought. So those are my votes, mate. But we'll move into the player review, mates, and there will be plenty of names, I think, on the list that, as I said earlier, need to take a little bit of a look at themselves, really deeply look in the mirror and say, am I standing up for my club? Am I playing my role? Am I helping my team?
Absolutely, mate. And off the top, this is by no means a knee-jerk reaction. These are all guys that we've spoken about before, and guys that we've had question marks over for a long time, and guys that, if we're going to contend in finals, must lift, and they continue to not lift, hence why I'll be pretty harsh on them. And Steve Motlop off the top, pretty simple. He'll be traded season's end. He'll be gone. I can't see him turning around. It'd have to be something miraculous for him to keep his spot at Geelong. He just continues to let us down in big games, and I think he's even dropping away considerably over the last couple of months, probably in career worst form by expectations.
Yep.
So just really struggling, and that was highlighted by obviously that drop mark in the corridor just kills you, and goal to Adelaide at a critical time. Reece Stanley, he's been a bit of a maligned player his whole career, and rightly so. He's got all the athletic ability, but just really lets you down. He's not super tough, and he doesn't really show his physicality very often. He's quick, we know that, and athletic, but
sometimes takes a good mark.
Yeah. Like, he fumbled the ball at such critical times. We're both thinking of the same one where Tui handballs it out to him. We're finally pressing third quarter. We're within 28. Finally with our first bit of momentum for the whole match. And not only does he fumble, but he doesn't even keep it in his zone. And I think they went down and kicked a goal in the next passage or two.
I think you're right, yep.
You know, I've highlighted two areas or two significant bits of play there, but over the course of the game they're disappointing, and it just highlights the type of errors they do, and they continue to let us down. So I think we just have to go with Zach Smith. I don't think there's any need for Stanley to be in the team. If anything, play Wiley Buzzer or something, or even with the form that Hawkins is in, throw back to what was it, 2011, 2012 or something, throw him into the ruck, even for 5 minutes. But if you need to give Smith a chop out, let it be Hawkins or let it be Buzzer, I think. And Daniel Menzel is another man who I've had these pretty harsh thoughts on, and they won't be popular. Lock your ears, guys. I'm about to kill Bambi, but I think we need to trade him. I think he must go.
Bang! Trade him.
Yeah, mate. Trade table for Dan Menzel. Too often with people who get traded, they get traded when they're on a scrap heap already. Now, Menzel has currency. We could get something pretty good, whether it helps us with getting another player or getting higher up the draft order, because we need some talented young guys. He has currency at the moment, and I think it's a good move. He just offers no defensive pressure. His agility is not what it once was with all those injuries. Yes, we know he's had knee injuries. We all know that. But it's time that we put the fairy tale behind us and we start looking at his actual numbers. He's had some good games, there's no doubt about it. But certainly I think since the first month or so of the season, his last 3-4 months have been pretty poor. And I think he's a one-trick pony, offers nothing defensively. And look, once upon a time he was a very good player. But the game has changed in those 4 or 5 years, and he hasn't. So I know it's a harsh call, but I just don't think you can have a guy like him and Hawkins in the forward line. If you got Reece Stanley down there, the ball just gets thrown out of our forward line so easily. And I just don't think you can rely on Menzel to consistently produce. I hope he proves me wrong, because he is one guy who I think can be a big game player. But I think too often we refer to Menzel as a guy who has potential and the things he can do or used to do. I don't think we see him often enough. So I certainly have said this before, you know that, and I think Menzel should be judged much more harsh, and I would not be against putting him up for trade.
Yep.
Other than that, mate, it's probably some similar names with the likes of Cam Guthrie just not finding his form that we know he can. You know, some young guys like Parsons and Zach Guthrie and the like they're a bit quiet, but I'm not going to go shooting them. You know, they'll probably go back to the twos soon enough, but we don't have that same expectation on some other guys that have been in the system for 6+ years. So I think it's time to make some hard calls. Put a few guys back to the twos. Doesn't have to be for a prolonged period, but just let them find some form. And if they don't find form, then they can stay there, because there's not a stack of guys putting their hands up in the twos. That's understandable, but there's got to be a couple. And I think just to send a message, put Motlop back to the twos. You know, send a message not just to him, but just to the team. So
yeah.
And Scott Selwood's probably another one. You know, if he's not tagging and getting the job done as a tagger, he really doesn't offer much. We talk about this grunt and inside tackling. Well, that's great, but he was poor. I think he's a guy we'd probably keep in the team, but you'd really like him to have a bit more of a role as a tagger. And Blitzarv's, of course, injured. Not sure the full extent of that. The club probably won't say until early in the week anyway, but I think there's some guys to really look at. I've rattled a few names off there, and obviously there's not a stack of guys that come to mind to come into the team, but you know, I think you just got to look at a Parfitt, Cockatoo, whether you bring George Holland-Smith back just for a week. I mean, even if you bring George in just to give him a crack and send a message to Motlop or someone like that, I think might be the go. So I really would like to see Buzzer back in the team, go with the one ruckman. So College Asney is probably another guy. I'd like to see Thurlow come in for him. As I said, it's not a knee-jerk reaction. I think it just underlined a lot of weaknesses we had, and I think we saw a team go to water under what was finals-like pressure. So I think there's no reason not to make some big changes, whether it's 4 or 5 in the 1 week or 6 over 2 or 3 weeks. Just get it done and send the message and give our full list some exposure, because I think there were guys out there that have proven they won't stand up in September, and I don't see that changing in a few months' time. So I think we better see if some of these younger brigade have what it's made for September, I suppose. We need to find out, but I think if they can't find form, some of these senior guys, then we really need to take a tough stance on them. So there's my little rant and rave, mate. So how about yours? Did you have any guys that are really feeling as if they must be put to the VFL to find some form?
You've probably mentioned most of the names, I reckon, there, but surely this has to be the week where the straw breaks the camel's back for Steve Motlop, surely. Like, you can't possibly... you just can't play the week after a number of months of poor form and then topped off with that with crucial moments where he stuffed up. I mean, we probably thought after the Gold Coast game he would, but surely this calls for going back to the twos or something just to kick him up the backside. What do you think?
No, definitely. I think it has to be done. And Chris Scott historically won't do that, but I hope he does. He always says that he errs on the players' side of it, where he'll give guys who have runs on the board another chance or an extra week. But I think we've seen, as you said, that Motlop has had that extra week. So absolutely, mate. I think he's a prime example, as well as a couple of other structural changes. I think he's certainly the key one on form.
Yeah.
To be put back, yeah.
Oh, he has to be tough. I won't be shocked if he does play, but I'd be incredibly disappointed if he wasn't dropped. Simply, he's had enough time. He's in his 8th year of football. Has to be better than that.
Yeah, and we've brought him up on this before. Whether we move Motlop forward, we've spoken about that, and permanent forward obviously pays a little bit there. But I just wonder, because he's got no confidence in the midfield. He's not the damaging player he once was. He used his speed once last night and it was electric, and that's why we have these expectations on him, because he has that, but he's just not showing it enough. So time to take a strong stand, Chrissy boy, and send a message.
Yeah, no, spot on, mate. Very good. Murdoch I thought his game was good, especially late when we were coming back. He was quite positive. He's a guy, a bit of a whipping boy in the past, and yeah, I liked how he sort of stood up there. Made a few mistakes here and there, but I'm glad he was even remotely in the equation to be able to make them. So, sounds kind of counterintuitive, but look, he's getting to the footy at least. He's getting his dash and run, so he's got a bit of confidence there, which is nice to see. College Asney looked shaky at times. Lonergan, we're not going to obviously drop him, but yeah, you just knew when he had that bad start, he was just about down and out for the night. Just that mistake early just shocked all confidence out of him, and the perceived pressure the Crows created throughout their manic sort of right in your grill type pressure really unsettled us, as we sort of mentioned off the top. So, yeah, look, wasn't a stack of players with their hand up, and a lot of players that are out of form, and Guthrie continues to disappoint me. And is he physically not right? Is he not confident? Is he both? Or he's a shadow of the player he once was.
Yeah, I think he's very, very low on confidence. And we've mentioned a lot of players. It probably sounds like we're throwing the baby out of the bathwater a bit, but I think we'd probably agree we'd probably be looking at 3 or 4 changes. We probably mentioned about 8 guys and just a few guys to be put on notice. But as far as actual changes go, you're definitely looking at your Motlop, College Asney, your Stanley, and maybe Parsons or something like that for a passer. But you're not going to go make a stack of changes. But there's certainly a few guys that just I feel it has to be done this week.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Very good.
We've got Carlton next week, mate. Obviously, a bit of a danger game. I guess any game can be a danger game, mate, but they have troubled us at times. But what do you make of this one? Obviously, we'll be looking to bounce back.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? It's like last year, lost to them, I think, found 4 goals. They really came to play. We didn't. We lost to Collingwood the week before. This time, the corresponding game last year to then lose to the Blues the week after that, and which I labelled the worst loss in the last 10 years for the Cats, or maybe the worst loss I've seen. So, look, no game's easy against Carlton. Not many teams get a hold of them. They're not a great side. They're not they're not that talented, but what they do give is an honest contest. They're really up front. They give you everything they've got, even though they're not obviously the most silkiest side going around. Cripps out would be, I guess, massive for us. I don't think it matters. Probably more so, I think it matters the attitude for both these sides to come out rather than who's actually in or out. I don't think it'll be much of a personnel issue, just an attitude issue. Yeah, look, I've got my worries going in because I know that Carlton give you everything they've got every single week, and I know we don't, especially against lower sides. We did curtail that against Brisbane, I suppose, which was positive to see. Look, I mean, I'm not tipping Carlton like right this second, but I'm not going in confident either, really. Just knowing what they can do and how we can just not quite prepare ourselves properly and just sort of go in a bit like millionaires against these lower ranked sides and not really do the full due diligence and have the right pressure, the right attitude towards it. So yeah, look, I go in thinking we should win, but I also go in thinking Carlton's chances are maybe better than us. If they turn it on, I think it's all for us to lose. I don't know. I'm a bit negative on it, but mainly because of last year. And despite our good record at Etihad, I still think, if they bring their pressure and we're not up to the challenge and we can get a little bit scared under the pressure and tend to play like a bottom 4 side, they'll certainly go a long way to winning. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, this year's been the theme of it is...
They've beaten the Giants there at Etihad.
Sorry, mate?
I said they've beaten the Giants there at Etihad, just to cut you off there, and they've had some good wins against Sydney as well.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think, as you said, Carlton, perhaps of all sides, played at their max because their list isn't great. He's a good coach, Carlton, but I think the theme of this year for a lot of teams has been good sides getting a bit of a reality check and responding in the next few weeks, and I'd like to think we could do that. You'd rather not have the reality check, but I think I'd be very disappointed if we drop this game. I mean, I think I'd expect it to be a bit of an arm wrestle, and Carlton won't make it easy for us to break them. They're a very well-structured and well-disciplined team, but I'll tell you what, if I switch the TV on or the radio on or however I'm watching it, and if I don't see someone shoulder to shoulder with Sam Doherty, I'm going to do a Terry Wallace and I'm going to spew up, mate, because you've just got to put someone on him. That's a non-negotiable. You must have someone on Sam Doherty. I don't give a stuff who our loose man is. He is the best in the comp and a massive cog in Carlton. So I think he's a key man we must man up on. So that's not telling you anything you don't know, but yeah, as a more broader view, it's one of those games where you enter confidently, but you're also quite wary of how we can mentally approach these sorts of opponents. And the Carlton are a team that, if you don't approach them with respect, can take advantage of that. So, yeah, I'll certainly, if you want to put it on a percentage, I'm probably sitting on 70-30 in our favour. Like, I feel reasonably confident just with particularly the matchups through the midfield. Without Cripps is a big loss for them. But for sure, as you said, with the attitude, we've got to bring the right one, and if we don't, we're going to be in one of those slogs, and if we don't show up to this, then we really do have those concerns on the bigger picture once again, which we've had before. But I think we've certainly discussed what we need to do, and we've got to respond here. So Etihad Stadium normally treats us well, but we'll just have to wait and see how we go. But a very winnable game, but every game, as we've seen throughout the season, there's no matches you can just say, yeah, lock that in. Every team's capable on their day, as you outlined, with Carlton knocking off the Giants, which was unthinkable at the time. But so not sure if I'm going to get to that one. I think it's an away game, is it, mate? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah. I don't remember being a home game at all, so I think Sydney will be the next one coming up the week after that, which will be massive.
I'll check the roster and maybe get the day off, but we'll wait and see. I think most likely be tuning in on the radio dial.
Nice, mate. Good reviews from you tonight.
Yeah, you too, mate. Plenty of passion in the room.
Yeah, sitting in the room and just unloading on the Cats at the moment, just giving them an old fashioned stir.
We'll await the response eagerly.
Yeah, me too. Alrighty, that's it from us tonight, guys. Hope you enjoyed the review. Feel free to chuck in any of your thoughts in the comments. That'd be muchly appreciated. Like the video and subscribe for more of these would be great. Thanks for hanging around. We'll catch you guys on the next one.